Welcome, fellow audio sorcerers, wizards, and curious to my channel. I'm Dan Spencer, and I am the Audio Sorcerer. So this is a channel where I teach you how to perfect your audio recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So today I got a really cool video for you. I'm going to be teaching you how to use a compressor. Now, in this video, you're going to be able to learn what each knob does, but not just learn, you're going to be able to hear it. And this is using the Stavrou technique. So this is actually from a book called Mixing with Your Mind, and I posted a link in below to it if you want to check it out. So it's a pretty cool book. It's something I actually learned from when I was in college back in the day. So I think you guys are going to really like this tutorial. So I do want to mention they offer mixing and mastering services. If you go to audiosorcerer.com, you can check out my website, and then you can see the samples and rates. And I also give 10% off to new clients. So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So without further ado, let's get to this tutorial. Alright, so here we are in Pro Tools, and we are talking about the Stavrou compression technique. And this is going to be a great way for you to learn how to use compression, as mentioned in the introduction. And this is also from his book, Mixing with Your Mind. It's actually a book I learned on way back when I was in college many years ago, but it stuck with me throughout time, and I do use it when I really need to fine-tune a compressor. I think as you get more used to using compression, the less you need to use this technique, but this is great for beginners, and it's great if you're kind of stuck. So I want to test this on a few instruments, and the instrument that we're going to test it on first is the snare drum. So we're just going to use the default Pro Tools compressor to do this, keep it simple. So let's open that up over here. Okay, so there's a couple steps to get this set up first, and the first step is to turn the attack time all the way to the left. So that is basically setting it to the shortest possible attack time. And then for the release, we want to turn this also all the way to the left, making it also the quickest possible release. For our ratio, we want to turn this as high as it'll possibly go, infinity to 1 if possible. This one goes up to 100 to 1. That basically turns into a limiter at that point. And for the threshold, we want to set this so that the signal is being compressed constantly and almost sounds pretty bad. That's the point of it. So let's actually, let's bypass this first and just listen to the snare drum so you can hear what it sounds like without this on it first. Okay, so it's a pretty snappy snare drum. Sounds pretty good. It's actually a mixture of 4 snare drums here. Now, what we're going to try to do is we're trying to get a little bit more snap out of it using the compressor and no other effects. So what we're going to do is we're going to bypass it and listen, and we want to make sure we're getting probably about anywhere from -6 to -12 dBs of gain reduction to the point where it sounds bad. So let's give it a listen. Okay, so it sounds like a trash drum, basically. It doesn't sound very good, and that's the point. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to mess with the attack time right here. And if you're thinking about a snare drum, we're not going to want a super quick attack time because it's going to grab the transient right off the bat, and it's going to make it, less forceful when it hits. So I'm going to play this, and we're just going to start messing with attack time. And what you're going to hear is that you can actually hear for once what it does. And that's part of this technique, where you can actually hear what each one of these knobs do. So let's give it a listen. Okay, by me setting it all the way over there, as you can see, we're pretty much losing all of our gain reduction, and it's coming all the way through. But as we make more adjustments to the release and ratio, this is going to change a bit. So I want to kind of leave it pretty far to the right there, just because I want to make sure I'm getting enough of the transient through. We can always bring the attack back. But as you heard, as we had a shorter attack time, it's actually kind of lengthening the sound and bringing some of that kind of buzz, maybe as you could say, like the actual snares of the snare out a bit. So you can kind of change the timbre with this too, which is kind of cool. So let's move on to release and let's try this out. Same concept. Okay, you're starting to hear kind of what I'm going for here. So right now, yes, it still doesn't sound very good, but do you hear that awesome kind of snap that we have in the snare now? That was all by adjusting the release right there. And as you kind of saw, the further we went to the right, the longer release time we had, it started kind of disappearing a bit. So I think this is good so far. Let's actually go into the ratio. And again, we'll do the same concept here. So let's start with that. Okay, so it actually sounds pretty good right there. Now, I mean, we're going to back up the threshold, but we have a really snappy snare going right now. And with the threshold this high, we're trying to create some sort of a pumping sound on purpose, because that allows us to kind of hear what the compressor's doing. You basically want this gain reduction to kind of be closest to the rhythm of the song as possible. There's no way to get it exact. We don't want to do mathematical calculations. That's not necessarily what making music is all about. So as we did with the reverbs in the prior tutorial, that this is a little bit different. So now we're going to back up the threshold and let's get this thing dialed in. So what do you guys think? I know it's pretty subtle, but I feel like we have just a little bit more snap from it right now. Let's actually listen to the mix. I'll play the chorus through one time with it bypassed, and then I'll unbypass it for the second take through. Okay, so that snare is much more snappy right now. I'm really digging that. So that's our snare drum, and that's how to actually do this technique. But what I want to do is I want to go to a little bit of a different instrument that's a little smoother, and we can use it in the same concept, but it's going to work a little bit differently. So we'll go to one of the rhythm guitars. Okay, so I got 4 guitars I played during the chorus here in which we were listening to. There are 2 rhythm tracks right here, and then there's 2 octave tracks here. So together they basically create the big, guitar sound of the chorus. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this compressor onto the bus of all these, which is over here. So I've already placed it on here. And we're not going to try to make these guitars all that punchy or anything. We're going to try to maybe squeeze them a bit just to kind of, maybe bring them forward just a little bit. And so why don't we start doing that? Let's set our compressor up again. Remember, attack all the way to the left, release all the way to the left. Ratio all the way up, and we'll make a threshold adjustment as we go. So let's give it a listen. Okay, I really like where that's set. Now, I was moving my mouse over here on the bus volume meter here because, as you notice, I was going between bypass and unbypass, and I heard the guitars come a little forward. They actually sound a little bit bigger to me when we got this thing dialed in. And the volume didn't change over here on the meter. And I wanted to point that out because sometimes we think things get bigger because they get louder, but that was not the case. So let's listen to this in the mix. This is going to be extremely subtle, but I think this adds just a little bit, what we're going for. So let's actually play this in the whole mix, and we will bypass it first. Okay, that was extremely subtle, but it does sound like it is coming up from the sides a bit, like it's just coming a little bit forward and it's just a little bit bigger. And again, remember, as engineers, we try to do things, a bunch of things very subtly, and it creates this, amazing sound. And that's what we do. We're magicians. So let's actually move on to the last instrument that I want to test this out on, and that's going to be the lead vocal track. Okay, so for the lead vocal here, I popped on our compressor here. And there is a double track with it and some harmonies, but I don't think that'll interfere too much. And what we're going to want to do with this vocal is bring it a little bit more forward. Now, this vocal was already compressed very well, I think, during the recording phase, or it already has some compression on it from before they sent me the session, I should say. But it sounds pretty good, but I think we could just do a little bit more with it. So let's dial in our compressor again, attack all the way to the left, release all the way to the left, and ratio all the way up. And then we will mess with the threshold as we play it. So let's actually solo it up here.
I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right. I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right. I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right.
Okay, so I'm digging that. And on vocals, you can, go a little harder on the compressor here. So as you see, I'm hitting pretty consistently between, I don't know, what, negative 6 and negative 8-ish. I would probably go as far down as negative 12, depending on, how under compressed the vocal is. So let's actually listen to this in the mix. We'll bypass it first and then bring it in second time around like we've been. So let's give it a listen. Okay, so it sounds pretty good. It definitely brought it a little bit more forward, and that's why you can hear probably the S's a little bit more. So we're definitely at the DS that a smidge. But overall, that's how I would likely do a vocal with almost any compressor. If you want to bring the vocal forward, you want a very quick release time. That's why I left it the farthest left as possible. And then you also want to make sure you get a little bit of that transience through. So, it's I would say it's kind of a short attack, but, just enough to get through. And then a ratio of 4:1 on vocals, it's pretty standard. So you're going to be safe with that. So yeah. So I hope you guys really like this tutorial. I really, really love this Stavrou compression technique. It helped me out when I was learning and really trying to understand what, how to use a compressor, because sometimes it could be daunting for someone new to this. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. I love making this content for you. And make sure you hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So until the next video, I will see you guys later and peace out.